Agriculture is a vital sector in Nigeria's economy, but how well do states leverage on its benefits to grow their economy and increase food supply? That's the big question. In view of this, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu charged state governors to intensify efforts in driving Nigeria's agricultural revolution. He urged them to prioritize agricultural growth, highlighting its crucial role in achieving economic stability. We have details in this report.
The backbone of many economies around the world, providing food, employment and income for millions of people. It is a sector that plays a crucial role in achieving food security, reducing poverty and promoting sustainable development.
It means we just have to work harder and grow more.
In Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has recognized the importance of agriculture in achieving economic stability, urging state governors to prioritize agricultural growth, which is a core part of his administration's development drive.
The elastic limit and the economic variables will determine how far individual could go. And the agricultural value chain will depend on all of you. You own the land. Whatever I'm doing in agriculture is just a mere help to stimulate food production. The job is in your hands.
Nigeria's agricultural sector faces numerous challenges, including low productivity, inadequate infrastructure, and insecurity. Despite these challenges, experts have proposed areas that could help increase efficiency. They say exploring irrigation, agricultural technology as part of the farming processes would greatly boost value chain development. Some states have already made significant strides in this regard. In Lagos State, a mega food logistics hub has been constructed to improve agriculture supply, helping the state maintain its position as the highest revenue-generating state, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Also in Borno State, Governor Babagana Zulum's action to subsidize fuel prices for farmers in afflicted communities has contributed to food production in the state. With the right investment and policies in place, experts believe the sector can drive economic growth, increase food supply, and improve the livelihood of millions of Nigerians.
Well, joining us in the studio for this conversation is agricultural consultant to the Ogun State Governor. He's also the CEO of Bama Farms, Wale Oyekoya. Thank you very much for joining us at this time.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone.
Same to you. Yes, so we're in 2025, and of course it's fitting to talk about agriculture and how important is it to the economic growth. We have been talking about this for a very long time, and it seems like, does it seem that we have there's any headway in achieving food security in Nigeria?
Definitely, I think we are having a headway, and Mr. President Ahmed Tinubu already spoken the mind of many farmers and many Nigerians.
Okay.
You said it all. The agriculture is very vital to the human being. There's no one that will not take the food security of a nation seriously. And it shows that Mr. President is listening to all corners on how the food security could be improved in this country. I remember the last time we met, we were discussing that most of the power in the federal government should be devolved to the state government when it comes to food security, because you remember the 1978 Act of Land Use. It gives the absolute power to the governors. They can do and undo, and what they have to do is to allocate most of these lands into farming with all the arable lands we have in this country. It's left to the hand of the governors. And some of the governors are taking the initiatives that, yes, it's time for us to boost the agricultural sector. Now, the power have gone to the state governors. Now, the state governors need to take the local government seriously. But we like it or not, everything is local. What they have to do now with the autonomy that we keep on talking about is when these local governments are able to use the power they have to empower their people through agricultural purposes. And through the Land Use Act, there's nothing that the federal government have to do with it. The only thing I'm begging the federal government is that there are some lands that the military keep on acquiring from the states. And according to the Act of 1970, all the powers left to the state governors. I give you an example of what happened in Lagos State. In 2023, in December, the Lagos State government have done very well to allocate some of the lands that have been given to the military since 1974 to some farmers, which I'm really involved. So the military just came in and took it over. But the president did something that I'm very happy about it, that he gave the power to the Minister of Agriculture that all the lands lying fallow in the military will be used for agricultural purpose. So what I'm just begging the state governor in Lagos State government is to remember the plight of the farmers that were displayed by the military in Lagos, especially in the Ekpe Axis. These people are idle. These are business. And this is part of what the president is talking about, that the state governors need to go back to the drawing board and bring all the farmers together to be able to improve on the food production of the state. Not only that, after that, what happened? We have so many farm settlements all over the states, especially in the Southwest. I remember in the olden days during the Awolowo regime, every state in the Southwest have farm settlements. And farm settlement is the only way out. Out of the farm settlement, you'll be able to bring all the processors, all the value chain that the president is talking about. Because without the value chain, we're wasting our time.
Do we still have farm settlements? Because everywhere you go, especially in places like Lagos,
yes,
it seems to have been taken over by real estate agents and all of that. Houses built everywhere, factories everywhere. You just get to a particular place and you realize that there's nowhere to farm at all. Do we have that? Do we still have that?
We still do, though some are moribund, which can be rejuvenated.
Okay.
Like in Lagos State, yes, we have farm settlement in Araga. If you go there, they have some youths. And Lagos State, within the limit space of the land they have, they still trying their possible best in terms of value chain. If you go to Imota, they have the best rice milling. But the problem is inputs. But without the inputs, there's nothing that to be processed. Okay. So we have so many of these farm settlements, especially in Ogun State. They have a whole lot of it, either for the cattle ranches, for the goat, for vegetables. The state governors just have to get up and work with the local governments to be able to revamp most of the farm settlements.
Have said that the body language of the state governors in that sense is really not, encouraging. Let's go to that meeting with the president. A particular governor stood up and said, well, the policies are working, actually, but there is an issue with implementation and execution of some of these policies. It's a value chain, like you mentioned. States like Lagos State, Ogun State, doesn't necessarily have to be involved in farming. What do you think? They could be involved in distribution and also, consumption.
Well, I think there's a good synergy coming up between Lagos State and Ogun State. Yes, as you said, implementation is always the problem. But now that the president is getting on the state governors, it's not left for the state governor to get on the table of the local government and their commissioners of agriculture, because the governor cannot do everything. They cannot see everything. In some states, we have almost about 30 ministries. So how many ministries are the governor going? That's why they have all these head of the ministries, like the commissioners, SA. Now it's now for them to call them to the drawing board and listen. Mr. President has spoken well, has spoken the mind of the people. We need to now come to the people's-oriented policy. Most of the policy I'm having is not really meant for the masses. But now the Mr. President has said, I believe all the governors, they have no choice because people are really hungry and there's poverty in the land.
So when you say that some of the policies are not really meant for the masses, are we talking about some of the palliatives, some of the seedlings that have been distributed to farmers, they're not getting to farmers?
Without input, there's nothing average Nigerians can do. There's nothing farmers can do. I think we need to go back to the drawing board again, to go back to the tertiary institutions and the secondary institutions. In the olden days, agriculture is the main cause. That we will have to have some debates and quiz on how this and that is being germinated and how crops and animals could be married together. You know, it's time for us to go back to that. We go back to so that if we are able to catch these young people at the early stage, by the time they get to the tertiary institution, by the time they graduated, they will be able to go into business of agriculture. Most people go into the agriculture now as a hobby. And another thing that we keep on talking about is about family farming. You could have farm in your backyard. I could farm in my backyard. And that is the purpose of all this. All what the government needs to give out is inputs. Because to get seed now that is going to be suitable for our land, we depend on these foreign inputs. And it's not supposed to be. What happened to our research and development? Every state nowadays needs to have a research and development on how to develop the seed that can grow in their land. Another thing we keep on talking about is fertilizer. We have a whole lot of fertilizer around us. We don't need all this imported or all this artificial fertilizer that even give us problem in terms of health-wise. We have so many dustbins that could be converted. We have some of these dunks from the cow, from the piggery, that could be converted into fertilizer.
So why are state governors not taking advantage of that?
Some of them are doing it, and as I said, they have so many things on their table, and that is how they have some of these commissioners and SS. And I believe with what the Mr. President have said, a lot of things are really going underground. The pressure have to go back to the state governors now, because, as I said, they have absolute control of the land in their state. And they have all the manpower. And the money is there, and at the same time, the government has to talk to the commercial banks. But you cannot go to the commercial banks and get a low interest rate from the banks. They say it's a very risky sector. Yes, agriculture is very risky because the profit margin of agriculture is plus minus 10%. There's not much gain. But if you are able to do it in large scale, something will be done.
So you mentioned subsistence farming earlier, and there is the question of how far that would actually go in addressing the food insecurity that we are facing as a country right now. And the 2025 budget, what we have on agriculture, 1.7 trillion naira, is that enough to address our issues? We've had experts come here to say it still seems Nigeria is not ready.
Yes, we keep on talking about in our medium that in the Maputo agreement that Nigeria is a signatory. 10% of our budget are supposed to go for agriculture. The last time that we are closer was during the Obasanjo regime, and that was 2.5%. So a lot needs to be done to improve on the budget, on the money allocated to agriculture. We keep on making the same mistake over and over that our population is under 200 million. If you budget for about 150 or 180 million, we realize we have over 250 million. It's a problem. That is why census need to be done. People need to be counted. It's just like my right to me if you tell me that Kano is bigger than Lagos State. How could that be with the population trooping into Lagos State? That's why sometimes I don't envy the governor of Lagos State, because if you look at the kind of influx of people coming to Lagos to really cater for the terms of security, food, shelters, it's very enormous. But at the same time, that's why they have most of these commissioners to look into those aspects. So, as you have said, I believe there will be an improvement now that Mr. President has spoken to the governors. And the governor need to get to the table of the local governments.
All right, so let's talk about accountability. While all of this, the president has said all he has said to the state governors, what mechanisms can be put in place to hold both the state governors and other stakeholders accountable for the progress of agriculture in their states?
It's very simple. Implementation, as you have rather said, there should be a scorecard. What have you done in your state? Every state in Nigeria have got a comparative advantage of what they can produce. I think they should allocate to each state. If it is cocoa that you can produce in your state, go and produce. If it is oil palm you can produce in your own state, go and produce. If it is groundnut, go and produce. If it is like value chain like Lagos State that doesn't have much land, all what I expect Lagos State now to concentrate mostly is on value chains to bring some of these products and produce. Because the population is here. Whatever you produce in the north, anywhere you go in the east, you still coming to Lagos because this is where the market is. And with the way Ogun State governor is doing now, that is really forming synergy with the Lagos State government. The Lagos State government have no business in planting. But the lands, they have a lot of lands in Ogun State that could be implemented. So there should be a lot of meeting between the governors and their commissioners. And the governor has to report to the Mr. President that this is our scorecard, scorecard. We're able to feed so people. All this palliative they are talking about is not really working.
Okay.
Keep people, empower people. And how do you empower them? Like I said about the farm settlement. Farm settlement is just about bringing community together. You provide them with security, light, water. It's another community entirely. You see how people will be producing and at the same time processing, and there's something we call commodities trading. A lot of it doesn't have to go into the nitty-gritty of farming. You can go to the commodities trading, buy some of these farm produce from the farmers, instead of it to be wasted, or we have post-harvest loss. Every farmers in Nigeria today, we always have a post-harvest loss because there's no storage facilities. Our silo is not even there for farmers.
So that's a big problem.
It's a very big problem. When you produce and you cannot store, when you produce, you cannot even have enough to process. It's a big problem. So a lot of losses is coming through the farmer. And it's only the government can really help out. Now the electricity is improving, which is part of the storage facility that could, like vegetables, if you put them in the refrigerated cooling place, definitely it's going to retain the refresh.
All right, sorry. You work with the Ogun State government, you're a consultant to Ogun State government. Yes. Now, what is the Ogun State government doing? Like you mentioned, there's land in Ogun State that's close to Lagos State. What measures are they putting in place to boost agriculture in that state?
Right now, I think they are trying to revamp most of the farm settlement that I talk about, because almost local governments in Ogun State now, the Ogun State government is trying to give them tractors and input, but they need to improve more because these inputs need to really go down to the real farmers in the rural areas. Okay. And at the same time, most of these things need to be done.
All right, of course, consultant to the Ogun State government on agriculture, Wale Yekoya, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Much.